It's time for another foray into the mind of the president via the Oracle, Maria Bartiromo. Oh, that's ADHD? Oh, well, that's okay. Ashley, we'll save it for tomorrow, okay? Let's,
President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, on the telephone. Mr. President, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you.
It is great to have you, and I want to say that Americans today have a lot of questions this morning, Mr. President. We hope that you can be as precise as possible and we can get through as much as possible this morning. Thank you for talking with us in the first interview since Election Day. Mr. President, you've said many times that this election was rigged, that there was much fraud, and the facts are on your side. Let's start there. Please go through the facts. Characterize what took place.
Well, first of all, I have to start by saying the whole world is watching, and nobody can believe what they're saying. And you have leaders of countries that call me and say, that's the most messed up election we've...
Oh gosh, he clearly has the television on his end. Just mute the television, Donnie. Gotta mute the stream.
...ever seen. You start with these machines that have been suspect, not allowed to be used in Texas, the Dominion machines, where tremendous reports have been put out. We have affidavits from many people talking about what went on with machines. They had glitches. You know what a glitch is? A glitch is supposed to be when a...
Remember, everybody, this is the guy who said he had top people in charge of cyber.
Machine breaks down. Well, no, we had glitches where they moved thousands of votes from my account to Biden's account, and these are glitches. So they're not glitches, they're theft, they're fraud.
Who's they, Mr. President? Name names.
Fraud, absolute fraud. And there were many of them, but obviously most of them, tremendous amounts, got by without us catching. We got lucky to catch them. I think we caught 4 or 5 glitches of about 5,000 votes each, and different states. And again, they're not glitches, that was fraud. And they got caught.
Then why do you keep calling them glitches?
For the most part, they got away with it. And what happened, if you watched the election, I was called by the biggest people saying, congratulations, political people. Congratulations, sir, you just won the election. It was 10 o'clock, and you looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you felt that way. This election was over. And then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps. In Michigan, in Pennsylvania, and all over. If you take a look at, you just take a look at just about every state that we're talking about, every swing state.
Massive dumps everywhere. They were just pooping everywhere. Hembulous, thank you very much for hitting the follow button. I appreciate it immensely. Oh gosh.
That we're talking about, and they did these massive dumps of votes, and all of a sudden I went from winning by a lot to losing by a little, and in some cases it took a period of time to do it. North Carolina, they couldn't do it. I won North Carolina. They couldn't, somehow they had a better system, but they couldn't do anything. I believe they tried. We have affidavits.
Trump's not going anywhere.
They couldn't
He's
do anything
be around
with
for a while.
Really a great place, North Carolina. We appreciate the incredible work they put in, and we won. But they did tens of thousands of Biden votes. And all of a sudden, I went from, and I could tell you the people that were calling me, congratulating me, people that you know very well, friends of your show, they said it's over. I said, well, I hear bad things about the machines. I hear bad things about corruption. One of your great pollsters who actually got it right, you know the gentleman I'm talking about, he said, well, Trump is going to win Pennsylvania, but you have to allow at least 5% for cheating because they cheat.
Right.
And that's in Philadelphia and various areas around Philadelphia. They cheat, and they cheat like crazy. So,
okay, guys. They cheat and they cheat like crazy. If that was the case, then we would see rampant voter fraud crimes going back decades, but they're just saying it. They don't have any evidence of this. It should be really easy to prove if there are decades and decades of them cheating.
We have him winning Pennsylvania, but you have to allow 5 points for cheating. This is a terrible thing that's happened. The mail-in ballots are a disaster. They sent millions and millions and millions of mail-in ballots. I'm sure you know people that got 2, 3, or 4, because I do, where they said, we got 4 ballots. They got one at a country home. Dead people were seeing ballots. But even worse, dead people were applying to get a ballot. They were making application to get ballots. Many. And, we're not talking about 10 people. We're talking, there are a lot of dead people that so-called voted.
This is from yesterday. This
election. But dead people were, in some cases, in many, many cases, thousands of cases, voted. But also, dead people made application to vote. They were dead.
I really want to live in this alternate universe where, like, zombies rise from the grave, and, like, instead of doing anything nefarious, they all just, like, fill out ballot application forms. Then they wait for their mail-in ballot, they get it, they fill it out, they send it in, and then they just promptly die back into their graves. Yeah, Trump lost the underworld vote, exactly.
10 years, 15 years, and they actually made application. This is total fraud, and how the FBI and Department of Justice, I don't know, maybe they're involved, but how people are allowed to get away from this stuff with this stuff is unbelievable.
Her expression. This is the President of the United States saying the FBI is in on some massive conspiracy to, on top of the already the massivest conspiracy of election fraud that has ever happened in American history. Like, on top of that, the FBI's in on it too. Yeah, they're in on it. They're in on it. Yeah. And she's just like, yeah, it's a good point. Good point, Mr. President.
This election was rigged. This election was a total fraud, and it continues to be as they hide. And the problem we have, we go to judges, and people don't want to get involved. The media doesn't even want to cover it. I mean, you're doing something. You're actually very brave because you're doing something. The media doesn't want to talk about it. They know how fraudulent this is. It's no different than Hunter. They don't want to talk about Hunter. So they totally closed it off, big tech and the media, other than the New York Post, as you remember, which took a lot of heat. It was terminated. It was terminated from, I guess, Twitter, maybe Facebook.
Elon the Righteous, hello, welcome back. I hope you have a good time, okay? For however long you're here in this community.
It's a situation the likes of which we don't have freedom of the press in this country. We have suppression by the press. They suppress. You can't have a scandal if nobody reports about it. This is the greatest fraud in the history of our country from an electoral standpoint. And I guess you could build it up bigger than an electoral. What's bigger from an electoral standpoint? What's bigger than this? This is the essence of our country. This is the whole ball game, and they cheated. Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes. Now we were planning. I got 63 million votes 4 years ago and won quite handily in the electoral college. Won quite handily. We did very well. I got 63. We were hoping to get 68 or so, and we felt that was a path to an easy victory. I got 74 million votes, the largest in the history of a sitting president. So much more, many millions of more.
Hello, Falls.
Than anyone
Thank you for hitting the follow button.
Than we were even trying to get. And everybody said, this is over. I'm telling you, at 10 o'clock, everybody thought it was over. And then
It's like he went to bed, and he didn't understand that there would be more votes counted after he went to bed. Like, this isn't that hard to figure out, guys. Mail-in ballots are usually counted last. And he discouraged his voters from voting via mail-in votes. So yeah, the mail-in votes disproportionately went to Joe Biden. This isn't like a wild conspiracy theory. It's clearly the Marxist fraud. Yeah, indeed.
phony mail-ins started coming in, Maria. But just so you understand, I got 74 million votes. It was over. And then mail-ins started happening, glitches started happening.
Did you do your own research, or do you just listen to what the media tells you? We're listening to the president right now, my dude. What research on what? What do you like? I talk about a lot of things on this show. What specifically do you want to know about? See, you didn't even investigate voter fraud. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't personally go and investigate voter fraud. You know who should have done that though? Donald Trump's lawyers, who've been kicked off of they've been kicked off of 30 of the last 31 cases. So, yeah, I mean you can knock me for not doing the research, sure. But maybe you should also knock the president's legal team, because they're not doing the right research either, apparently. It seems like they don't have evidence to present, otherwise they would have at least gotten a hearing in their 30 other lawsuits. I don't know. I would just use that massive brain of yours to really dig down into your logical functions. You don't even question, you just go, wait, are you saying that Donald Trump has actually won all of his lawsuits? That's incredible. Can you show me where Trump won all of his lawsuits? Can you show that to me? Because right now I can only think of the one that he won, and that was on election night. So oh, okay. Yeah, so your contention is that every single judge that Donald Trump has put his case before, they're all in on a massive conspiracy. Okay, yeah, that really seems like you're the one using your critical thinking skills and not me. Have you done the research on these judges? Have you done the research yourself? If not, then kindly shut the fuck up, because you also don't know what you're talking about. There we go. Problem solved. Moving on. Let's listen to our good president tell us definitely not lies. Oh, really? Tell us about the 30 different judges who turned down Donald Trump's case. There are 30 of them. I have plenty of time. Please present me with evidence of 30 corrupt judges. If you have this evidence, I will gladly take it. All 30 of them. You can start alphabetically, please. Oh, you checked all their Facebooks. Oh my, what in-depth research you've done. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, present me all of their Facebook information, alphabetically, and yeah, just I would like that, please. Yeah, the ultimate source, Facebook. It's true. It's indeed the sleuthing here is worthy of a pulpy novel. And then after that, you made out with your Canadian girlfriend, right? Why don't you do your, instead of spoon feeding? My dude, you just said you went to people's Facebooks, and from their Facebook, what, did you find a post that was he, I'm in on the vast Democratic conspiracy. Time for me to throw out Donald Trump's crimes, or non-crimes, to make him look guilty. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Facebook is the best place to find out people's true intentions? What did you smoke before getting on Twitch, my dude? Most politicians go down because of Facebook? Oh gosh. Please present me with the data of 30 judges who you can prove conclusively are breaking the law by throwing out Donald Trump's cases, okay? If you can, you know what? You don't even need to present me 30. Present me one. Present me one judge who has illegally thrown out Donald Trump's lawsuits. Oh, no. It's definitely a waste of time, everybody. I want everyone to know that this is entirely a waste of time, but I do want to just say, please, please, Elon the Righteous, present me one of these corrupt judges with the evidence that you have found. I would very much appreciate it, okay? Anyway, until that time, by the way, you can't post links in chat. Please whisper it to a mod, and they will send it to me, and then we can go over it together on stream, okay? Anyway, I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting. I would love to go over this on stream. All right. Well, but otherwise, the train mod. I know I needed a troll. Trolls are the only thing that keep my heart beating.
Election was rigged. This election is a total fraud.
Mr. President, these are obviously very serious.
Yeah, this is honestly Donald Trump, very big brained. He did all of his research himself. Just, you know, he knows all these judges are part of the vast Democratic conspiracy. You will know the judges are corrupt when the Supreme Court overrules them. No, that's literally how our legal system works, dumb fuck. Now present me with your evidence that you found yourself of these judges being corrupt. I want evidence on one judge being corrupt. If you can't provide that, then we all know that you're full of shit. And we all know that you're full of shit, okay? So, I mean, that's fine. But also understand that the Supreme Court overruling lower courts is literally how our court systems are set up. They told me to read more books, so I decided to read all of Facebook so I know all the facts. It's true, that's where they keep all the facts. Oh, there are videos of them changing votes and throwing out ballots. Again, that's not what you said. You said that that all of the judges are corrupt. I want you to show me one of the judges that is corrupt. Because again, if it is as easy to prove as you're saying, then it should be a piece of cake to prove it in court, which is not what it has been, which leads me to the conclusion that either the court systems are hopelessly corrupt, or the president's legal team is full of shit and misrepresenting the evidence they have. And I think one of these is more likely than the other. Oh, okay. All right, Elon the Righteous, I got you. All politicians and judges are corrupt minus Trump. I got you. I got you, boy. I got you.
Charges, and I want to walk through them and ask you how you will prove this in the courts, because as you know, what I've been saying on the air is that elections are the reason that our young men and women go on battlefields across the world and in some cases lose their lives. Because they believe that their vote, my vote, matters just as much as your vote. And if that is not true, this is a very serious turning point for America. So this is no longer about you, President Trump. This is about America. And many people agree with you. According to Reuters...
Also, Rykall, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you.
68% of Republicans and 28% of all Americans, that includes Democrats, believe there was fraud in this election. So let's go through some of the states, the 6 states that your team is challenging. What specific strategy does your legal team take going forward? Let's start with Pennsylvania. I know you said that you have a pile of affidavits. That's part of the evidence. What other evidence can you talk about that will enable you to prove this in court in the coming weeks, sir?
Well, we're trying to put the evidence in, and the judges won't allow us to do it. We are trying. We have so much evidence. You probably saw on Wednesday of last week, we had a hearing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was an incredible hearing, unbelievable witnesses, highly respected people that were truly aggrieved. A woman came in, and she wanted to vote. And they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote. You've already voted. Your ballot's in. She said, no, I want to vote on November 3rd. I've been waiting for so long to vote. I'm so proud. I want to vote. They said, your ballot's in. I'm sorry. And That was the story, and she was aggrieved. And you have many people like that, many people like that, at a level that nobody would even believe. And that's where it is, Maria. That's one story. By the way, that's one story out of so many different stories. The poll watchers, and this is true with all of the states, just about that you're talking about. I think all of them. They weren't allowed to have poll watchers. The Democrats and thugs. Now, I'm not talking about saying, could you please move over? They threw them out of the counting rooms. They weren't allowed to be in. They threw them outside in many cases. You heard the story with the people, they went out and sent for binoculars because they wouldn't allow them to watch. And
No, they wouldn't allow them within 6 feet. Oh yeah, you can ban them. It's fine. Yeah, as soon as he said 100% of all politicians and judges. Oh no, why did we ban Keltoid the 7th? Rip.
During that period of time, a lot of bad things happened. Then they closed, as you know, they closed up the voting. And then unexpectedly, they closed up all of the counting. Unexpectedly, new ballots came in. And it was all new.
No, they just counted the mail-in votes, you doddering old fool.
Numbers being added. We have pictures and we have evidence of new ballots being brought into counting rooms. Maria, there's never been anything like this in history. And it all started with the mail-in, but it also goes to Dominion. It goes to a lot of things. But the mail-in, millions and millions of ballots being shipped all over. And ballots, as you know, there were a lot of ballots where it was just Biden on top. They didn't do anything else because they were in a rush. And from what everybody is saying, and from what I don't think we even have to prove this, they say that I was doing so much better than they thought that they panicked and they started just doing ballot after ballot very quickly and just checking the Biden name on top. They didn't have time. See, of all these ballots,
I don't think we even have to prove this, but they just started panicking with their massive conspiracy. Also, everyone, make sure that you are you're treating Archangel the Cobb with utmost respect. He's on a banning spree. Okay, he's got a thirst for justice in his heart, and his patience is much shorter than mine.
it's with just one name check. People don't vote that way.
Oh wait, why do people blame Trump for COVID instead of China? I understand if you don't like him, but common sense should prevail. Well, the issue is that Trump was in charge of our response to COVID. So like pandemics happen. This is why almost every civilized nation on Earth had like a pandemic strategy. And Trump's response to the pandemic is abysmal. Like, yeah, I mean, for example, the Spanish flu, that originated in Oklahoma. There's some pretty good evidence that the Spanish flu originated in the United States. Pandemics happen from all kinds of different places on Earth for all kinds of different reasons. And you can say, well, China got it out of a Chinese lab, which there's not evidence of. But you can say that. Even so, it would not be China's responsibility to be in charge of the United States' COVID-19 response? That's pretty silly. So, yeah. Also, yeah, I mean, Hillary would have had, like, the pandemic response that Obama and George Bush had put together, so Donald Trump is the only one who, like, ripped that apart and then massively defunded the CDC. So yeah, there's a lot of evidence that we would have done a bit better with Hillary or someone else in charge. Why are we not upset about how the governors handled it? It is the responsibility of the state because each state is different. Well, Army Medic, part of the reason is because we needed a coordinated federal response, because if you just let states handle a massive pandemic problem, it just means different states are shutting down at different times, which means that people can just cross the border to go into open states and there continue spreading the disease. So like without a coordinated federal plan, you get really fucked really quickly by a pandemic.
Way. People don't vote that way. They want to vote against taxes, and they want to vote for judges, and they want to vote for a lot of other things that you have on a ballot, different races, including Congress. And they were just checked up top. Tremendous numbers of ballots like that.
Hey,
and that
Deso.
was done for the sake of speed. We have stories that are unbelievable, but we're not allowed to put in our proof. They say you don't have standing. I said I'd like to file to the lawyers. I would like to file one nice, big, beautiful lawsuit talking about this and many other things with tremendous proof.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are definitely cases in which individual governors are more responsible than Donald Trump. I'm just saying that having a coordinated COVID response was pretty dependent on a federal response early on. Now, we're in a pretty big, shitty situation, and there's no good way out of it. Well, I mean, isn't another part of Vermont that you guys have like a state healthcare plan? Isn't that part of it too? So like people could go and get treated instead of like working through it. I don't. I feel like that might have some other. There might be a lot of other knock-on effects. But here's the other part. If all of the states around Vermont keep spiking in their numbers, the numbers in Vermont are going to start spiking too. So again, there's a reason why as a country we have the ability as like to have a federal response to national crises. So yeah, my argument is that we should have had one in this case.
We have affidavits. We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, like the people.
Again, affidavits mean nothing. I can make an affidavit about how I wiped my ass clean. Doesn't mean that it's evidence for anything. Anyone can make an affidavit about anything.
People that you saw the other day in Pennsylvania are willing to sign under penalty of perjury, you go to jail. Willing to sign.
Well, and Adriana, the issue is, even though the death rate is very low, overall in the United States, it's around 2%. If 2% of the United States dies from COVID, that's 6 million people dying. Are you okay with 6 million people dying? If not, then we should probably fucking do something about it. I'm just jealous because you don't have hundreds and hundreds of non-evidence. True.
Like Comey, who didn't go to jail for lying, by the way, and McCabe, who didn't go to jail for lying, which is an amazing thing to me. We might as well bring it up. But under perjury, you go to jail. We have hundreds, getting to be thousands. They're coming in all the time. And these are respected people. These are people that are putting their lives at risk. And they don't want to take the affidavits. Then they say we don't have proof. I wanted to file one suit. Donald J. Trump.
Oh, they're all real COVID deaths, though. That's the issue. Like, when people are alleging that hospitals are misreporting deaths in order to get more money, A, they don't get more money because of COVID deaths, and B, it is a huge crime to mislabel people's deaths in this way. So what you're alleging is like a kind of conspiracy on the part of like the entire hospital system of the entire United States. Is basically what you're alleging when you're like, oh, they're miscounting the COVID numbers because they get more money for COVID patients. So it's just kind of a bad, it's not accurate to like real life in the slightest.
Trump, President of the United States, against, and put everything in a one simple suit. And they say, sir, you don't have standing. I say, I don't have standing. You mean as president?
Yeah, but like, again, Army Medic, that's the issue, though. Like, are you willing to kill 6 million people just because some of them might be older? Like, I don't know. It seems pretty shitty to me. Like, would you justify the Holocaust if it was just all old people? I don't think so. I don't think that's okay. Remotely.
President of the United States, I don't have standing. what kind of a court system is this? And the judges stay away from it. There is out there, Maria, because everyone knows you gave numbers. I had a number, 79%. It just came out. 79% of the Republicans think the election was a fraud. And I hear 35, 40% of the Democrats, but they're not going to put it down anyway because they're not going to say we think it. Yeah. But I think most of them think it was a fraud. I watched you with Kelly. Look at the election. Look at the election you have coming up right now. You're using the same garbage machinery, Dominion. And she's going around Abrams. She's going around screaming that she's got 800 or 850,000 ballots. What kind of an election is this? She's going around collecting votes. What kind of an election is this? What kind of a country are we living in now?
That's legal, though. You can collect ballots. Achilleer, thank you very much. I hope you have a good evening, okay? Well, probably because the increase in suicides, child and domestic abuse don't add up to 250,000 more people being dead. Probably. But also, I hate that people use suicide and mental health as a convenient excuse to do nothing when we're talking about national crises. It's just always a scapegoat. Whenever any of this stuff is brought up, people start talking about, like, oh, but think of the mental health when it comes to, like, mass shootings. We need better mental health care when it comes to, a pandemic. Well, like, yeah, we do. But every attempt that people make to, like, actually address that problem, like Medicare for all, everyone's like, oh, it's too expensive. Yeah, we don't want that. Well, so then the people who voted against Medicare for all or refused to make it part of their platform, yeah, they're the ones responsible for the bad mental health conditions right now. Yeah.
You can vote for months ahead of schedule. And then the other thing we have, and Justice Alito,
I agree,
highly
Army
respected,
Medic,
a great man.
1-8.
Justice Alito.
I agree. It's just that's a different conversation, I think, than a pandemic response question.
Seems to have big problems, but the election ended, and they gave people an extension to vote. That's never happened before. In other words, the election ended, but we'll give you more time if you want to vote. And what I understand is they didn't think it was good either. So they backdated all these ballots that came in. They had people, and we have affidavits on that too. They had people backdating ballots so that if somebody came in the 4th or 5th or 6th, which was illegal because the legislature didn't approve it, which everything has to be approved by the legislature. And they had judges making deals, and they had electoral officials making deals, like this character in Georgia who's a disaster. And the governor's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. I'm ashamed that I endorsed him. But I look at what's going on. It's so terrible. But what happened in this election, Maria, I can't imagine has ever happened before. They stuffed the ballot boxes. You know, I've been hearing that expression for...
Oh, I mean, diet sock them. It's 100% cheaper. You don't have to advertise it. You don't have executives on the top scraping, like, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars off the top for profits. Yeah, no, it's 100% cheaper. You can just run it at cost. And that's definitely cheaper. And it means that the government can negotiate with hospital systems for lower prices on, like, everything. So, yeah, it's cheaper overall. Definitely.
Many years you have to stuffed the ballot. They stuffed the ballot boxes, and they used COVID as a means to stuff the ballot boxes. Joe Biden did not get 16 million more votes than Barack Hussein Obama. He didn't get it. Joe Biden did not get 14 million more votes than Hillary Clinton. And by the way, he didn't beat Obama in the black communities. You go to some of these communities where Obama is very, very popular, and he beats them in some of these communities, but all throughout the rest of the United States, in a black community, he does actually poorly. He doesn't do very well. But he beats Obama in swing states. Now think of that. He beat Obama in swing states. You know that didn't happen. They stuffed the ballot box. Everybody knows that.
This is some of the impossible statistics that we have found, and this is from the Federalist article. They call it Biden magic, and they list a number of ways that Joe Biden magically outperformed election norms. They include 80 million votes, including a record black and Hispanic turnout for you, President Trump, winning despite losing most bellwether counties. Typically, when you win the bellwether counties like you did, the president wins. Biden trailed Clinton, except in a select few cities. Biden won despite Democrat losses everywhere else. In the House, Kevin McCarthy is still celebrating wins in the House of Representatives. Biden also overcame your commanding primary vote. So there are certainly statistic impossibilities, and the Federalist calls it magic, as you refer to. Mr. President, will you be able to prove that the computers can circumvent the controls that are in place? A lot of people say, oh, no, we have controls in place. There are paper ballots. The computers cannot get through the controls that are in place. Can you do that? Yeah. And secondly, in terms of Pennsylvania, your team got a blow on Friday, an appeals court rejecting the request to block the certification of Pennsylvania's election results. Your attorneys have said they will appeal to the Supreme Court. Give us your timing on that. Will you get a different outcome in the next couple of days? Will we be hearing a victory in Pennsylvania in the next couple of days?
Okay, well, let me just talk about the Federalist paper just for a second, because you mentioned it. There are 5 points, and it was written brilliantly but sarcastically, because they were saying he must be a great campaigner because he lost here, he lost here, he lost here, and he won the election. If a president, this is over a long, many period, hundreds of years, 100 years or something, they went into all of the elections. If you win one of the 5 points, I won all 5. If you
Guys, this is like this is basically the Trump supporters unironically think that the voting machines have basically been programmed like Office Space, where they're like carrying every one out of 1,000 votes is going to Biden, and that it's tipping the election because there were just so many votes, and it's absolutely like insane and unhinged from reality. This isn't how they work. Yes, it was programmed by the ghost of Hugo Chavez. Yes. And delivered by like some Cubans on boats. Yeah.
win one of the 5 points, you become.
Also, Archangel the Cobb, I just want you to know that Adriana Tuhart has been messaging me privately, complaining about their ban, and basically told me that they have evidence of crimes. So I encouraged them to take it to the police, and they called me deranged because my mods are enforcing their tyrannical will on those with different thoughts. I just want you to know you're doing a good job, okay? Gosh. Hello, Marcus for Left Flank Vets. How's it going? We're just having a bit of a chud problem at the moment.
President, you automatically, sitting president gets reelected. I won all 5 and I still lost. There was only one reason for that: fraud, stuffing the ballot boxes, all of the things that they did. There's only one reason, and everybody knows it. And your number.
Mods should not be censoring for different opinions, only inappropriate language and behavior, but it is free speech. You can control your channel however you want to. Yeah, that's right. I fucking can. And I give my mods a lot of leeway because they give Army Medic, people like you, an extreme amount of leeway when it comes to interacting with my channel. Usually they only ban people who are being complete dipshits. So just don't be a complete dipshit. You'll be fine.
Numbers are much different. I mean, this country, I cannot believe it. There's more spirit. I see more spirit right now.
Can I be 50%
This country
dipshit?
cannot have
Depends.
fake elections like we have
the
fake
line,
news,
okay?
like we have all of the things happening with big tech. I mean, there's a tremendous move on to repeal Section 230. Big tech has no liability. They can do whatever they want. It's ridiculous. But there's a big move to do that. I don't know if the politicians have the guts to do it, but they're hurting themselves very badly. There are so many different things. Yeah.
Well, I didn't say that you did write the rules. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, you're right. I run my channel the way I want to. We only ban dipshits. So if you don't be a dipshit, you'll be fine. If that's a problem for you, you probably should find a different channel to be on, I guess. Where they're more friendly to dipshits? I don't know.
We'll be appealing.
Also, I do support 50% dipshittery, okay? My mods, however, you know, they're a bit trigger happy.
Different cases, Maria. You know, it's not only
Gotcha,
our
Army
case.
Medic.
Mike Kelly, great congressman.
But by the way, you are in good company. Like half my community is veterans, so you're in good company.
And as you know, from Pennsylvania, has a great
exactly,
case.
Marcus.
He had a good decision. Then he went a step above, and they turned him down. I think that was in Pennsylvania. I think he's got a great appeal to the United States Supreme Court. Act 77, where the legislature.
Ass Monster, thank you very much for the 1 bit. I appreciate you immensely. Especially because even though it was just 1 bit, it was very fun to say. And Marcus for Left Flank Vets, thank you very much for hitting that follow button. I appreciate it. Do you think Biden is going to rail the living hell out of Kamala in the White House? What are your thoughts? I doubt it. They don't seem to have much like sexual chemistry. Yeah, I don't know what Kamala's husband looks like. But I imagine he satisfies her.
Is supposed to approve all this stuff. And they had it approved by
Vikas Varga, definitely Biden. Have you seen a picture of young Biden? Biden exudes big dick energy, okay?
Local officials or a judge. I think it's a great case, but I'm sure
Hunter's
they'll be
definitely
appealing too. They have a fantastic case. You know, a lot of the
Hunter definitely has a hog, okay? I've seen a lot of men in my time. That boy has a hog. Oh, okay. Here. Look, I'll show you a picture of young Biden as a treat. Here. It's young Biden, okay? Young Biden. He's a snack. He's a snack. Look. A very clear snack right here. What's in the bag? I assume wine to seduce the 5 women he's about to have sex with. And Hunter Biden image. I want the shirtless image. All right. Yeah, these are also some like big dick energy pictures, okay? I'm just saying. I'm all I'm doing here is spitting facts, okay? Yeah. It's a big ass can of lube. I'm curious, did you watch the hearings in PA and Arizona? They were not covered by any cable networks. No, I didn't watch the hearings, but mostly because I'm not convinced that anything will come out of them. If something does, I'll be more than happy to go back and like find footage. Um, I'm not gonna look up Beard Biden, okay? No. Oh, well, actually, Beard Biden is very hot, though. He's either massive or incredibly small. True. True. Um, anyway. We'll just put these over here. All right.
Cases that have been lost haven't been our cases. They're people that are aggrieved that went out and filed lawsuits because they saw things happening that they've never seen before. A poll watcher, I have a lot of respect for Ken Starr, and I watched him on your show, actually. And a poll watcher is like a sacred person in the world of politics. They call them partisan poll because they're like a Republican poll watcher, a Democrat poll watcher. They watch the votes being counted. It's so important. It is like the most important. Otherwise, people will cheat, unfortunately. So poll watchers are very important. Our poll watchers didn't just get set back, which they did. They got thrown out of buildings in different states. They were thrown out of, and this is a well-coordinated attack because you don't do it with everybody. Maybe it would happen in Philadelphia, but it wouldn't happen in Detroit. Now, Detroit and Philadelphia, Milwaukee, these are among the most dishonest political places in years. Just look at the past history. I'm not being rude to anybody. These are highly corrupt locations politically. But poll watchers were walked out by thugs out of the building. And you have it all over the news. We could give you everything you need. All you have to do is local news.
Oh, Army Medic, I probably will. I've had a lot of things going on today. We had someone who called in to debate me. We had someone who called in from Brazil to talk about the political situation because they just had elections over there. We had someone who called in to talk about electoralism versus revolution, and now we're doing this as like a nice little chill down, you know?
Covers it actually much different.
So yeah, we'll probably cover it later in the week. I just had to push back some content about like the conflict in Ethiopia and also some other miscellaneous content, but I'm sure we'll get to the hearings at some point. Probably tomorrow or the day after.
Differently than national news. National news doesn't like covering anything that would be like that. They do not report the news. That's why I call them fake news. But
Serious Twitch,
they've never been fake like they are now. Now they're a disgrace. But the news is the enemy. Our newspapers, major newspapers, and major networks are truly the enemy of the people in this country. They're very dangerous, and big tech is making them even more dangerous. But they got rid of poll watchers. I'm going to get back to
I'm going to get back to big tech because this is a critical.
Could we ever do a stream about veterans and like Veterans Day and all that? I've always felt conflicted as a leftist because I don't like war, but at the same time I don't want to condemn people in them. Well, yeah, I'd be open to that. Like I have a lot of lefty veterans in my community who'd love to come on. We could have Ashley on, and Ashley could talk about how she helped invent the internet. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I would just have to, be in a space where I can like plan ahead for a bit,
Part of this story, Mr. President, but if you take out the contested swing states electoral votes, you're back down to President Trump having.
I don't know, Adriana Hart. You did say that I run my channel like shit, so maybe you should be like, I don't know, a bit nice yourself. Just saying, okay? But welcome back. I hope you enjoy your time on this channel.
Having 232 electoral votes and Joe Biden having 227.
That's pretty rad, Army Medic.
That is if you strip out the 6 states with the legal challenges. So is the thinking here that because of the various ballot issues that the Supreme Court will rule that the vote is tainted? And that will mean that they have to take votes away from Biden and not certify? Is that the thinking? And secondly, what's your timing on this, Mr. President? Because we've got some notable election dates here that I want to ask you what you believe you consider to be your drop-dead date in terms of proving this case. Is it December 18th when the states finalize elector appointments or when electors cast votes in each state? Is it the vice president receiving electoral votes? Is it the House and Senate counting electoral votes? Or is it Inauguration Day, January 20th? How do you see it?
Well, I don't want to give you an actual date. A lot of people say the 18th, or they say the 14th, or they say January 20th. I'm not going to say a date, but I will say we have to move very fast. We have been moving fast. And, look, when you say, is it tainted, everyone knows it's tainted. Everyone knows that the poll watchers were thrown out of buildings. Everyone knows.
I really thought this was going to have more substance than him whining for like 20 minutes. So, like, I love that as the president, he has access to all kinds of information that he could provide people. He has all kinds of, like, intelligence bureaus at his disposal. And the best he can do when he comes on television is say, we all know this is true, right? I say, without demonstrating any evidence. We all know this is true. You know it's true. I know it's true. Like, it's just, like, this really weird, weak way of defending your position. You would think if he really has the overwhelming evidence that he purportedly, he says that he says his legal team has, that they would provide some of it. They don't on any of these shows or appearances. They just talk about how much evidence they have.
That people were not allowed to vote when they walked in so preciously, so beautifully to vote. A elderly woman, we have her deposition, was told, who longed to vote, looked forward to the day of November 3rd, was told when she got in there, I'm sorry you voted. And then they give her another ballot to sign, which they don't use because she already voted. That's how brazen they are. They'll actually vote people knowing that there's a good chance that those people will come in. And there were thousands of those people. And
they check the vote after you cast the ballot. You dumb man. The reason they made her sign that ballot was likely to make sure there wasn't voter fraud going on. Like, then they would just discard the other ballot that's under her name so that they make sure that it's her ballot.
By the way, just to set the record straight, because a couple of these cases were dismissed.
Oh, Army Medic, I totally understand what you're saying, but, like, you would also provide some degree of evidence to the media so that the media knows your story's true. You wouldn't present all of it. It's not a legal court case he's in right now. He's on television. But, again, you'd think after 20 minutes he would have something more substantive to say than, like, everyone knows this is true. Like, I'm just asking for, like, a little bit of substance here, and there's just not anything here. Like, I don't know.
Because they didn't have enough votes, enough bad, tainted votes. so that you'd overturn the state.
Good night, tiniest boob.
No. In all cases, we have many times, I don't even know where the judges would have gotten that information. We have thousands and thousands.
Yeah, exactly. You usually have to sign something to invalidate your previous vote so you can vote in person. Yeah.
And tens of thousands of votes more than we need. In other words, if I lost a state by 9,000 votes, or if I lost Georgia by, let's say, 12,000 votes, we have tens of thousands more votes in it. We don't have it where we found 9 dead people, and therefore we want you to turn over the state and give us those electoral votes. In all cases, and yet judges are, one judge was saying, we didn't have the votes to turn it over, therefore it's meaningless. In other words, if you don't have the votes, I understand that. If you had far fewer votes than the amount. Now, in one way, you could also say it's so fraudulent when they make up, when they're voting for dead people, and when dead people are signing applications, meaning they're not, meaning somebody else is fraudulently signing. I mean, in the name of a dead person, well, that tells you a lot. But we actually have thousands of votes, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of
Bye,
votes,
Dezzo.
more than we need in every swing state that we're talking about.
Mr. President, have you received from your Chief of Cyber Command any briefing on electronic interference from either internal or external influences? Have you received this briefing?
We're dealing with John Ratcliffe, who's fantastic. We're dealing with other people, and we don't always get, they've been there for a long time, Maria. It's a long story. It's a long story. We're disappointed that other people, more people didn't get involved because this is a fraud. This is a fraud against the American people. It's a fraud against the United States of America. And we're disappointed that some people don't get more involved. Like this character on 60 Minutes, they're putting him on. This guy, we had so many things. He's talking about how honest the election is. Well, how come there are thousands of dead people voting? How come there are all these other people voting that shouldn't be voting? How come we find...
He's the guy you put in charge of it. What the fuck? Anyway.
Thousands of votes. How come poll watchers, every vote that went through an election area,
yeah,
what they call it a counting area, where our poll watchers were locked out of the building, outside, standing outside, or standing so far away that you couldn't see, where they literally went out and said for binoculars, you're supposed to be right next to that vote. Well, every one of them is a fraud. So how can he say, I mean, other than he's an anti-Trumper, how can this guy say that there was no fraud? 60 Minutes, by the way, never called us for comment. They do a piece on somebody. They don't call us for comment. But when you don't have a poll watcher and thousands of votes are passing that area where you're supposed to have a poll watcher to see that everything's on the up and up, well, those are votes that count toward us. Those are thousands of votes. And they were done in many of the states, swing states that we're talking about.
Where is the DOJ and the FBI in all of this, Mr. President? You have laid...
Army Medic, I would guess that probably there'd be some sort of extreme fascist backlash against various states that didn't support Trump enough, various cities that didn't support Trump enough. We'd probably see an overhaul of our voting system. I would guess that we would be on the verge of not being a democracy anymore. If everything that Donald Trump is saying is true, I would guess that Donald Trump would take this state, like the United States, in a very fascist direction.
Out some serious charges.
Oh, and Trump supporters will definitely commit some sort of violence, like whether it is Proud Boys doing some sort of like terrorist actions or more kidnapping and murder plots of governors by various Trump supporters. I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Here, shouldn't this be something that the FBI is investigating? Are they?
Missing in action.
Is the DOJ investigating?
Missing in action. Can't tell you where they are. I ask, are they looking at it? Everyone says yes, they're looking at it. Look, where are they with Comey, McCabe, and all these other people?
Also, Adriana, no, Harvard did a study on this, and they found that 97% of the historic and large and prolonged Black Lives Matter protests, 97% of them were peaceful, with the remainder non-peaceful ones being mostly having violent action, mostly done by cops or counter-protesters. Yeah. Army medic, nah. No, what you're talking... The Governor Gretchen Whitmer thing, that was by Trump supporters. One guy posted like one thing with like an anarchist symbol, but they were all like Proud Boy adjacent. They were involved in like far right wing militias. Not exactly like the things that they posted on social media are not exactly aligned with far left values. I say this as someone who is an open socialist. Yeah, they weren't Proud Boys, but they were aligned with like right-wing militias. Yeah.
I said I'll stay out of it. I wish I didn't make that statement.
Yeah, they were involved with like a militia called like the Night Watchmen or something like that. I don't know. It was dumb LARPy shit.
There's no reason really why I have to. But where are they with Comey, with McCabe, with...
Well, because BLM is a historic movement for civil rights. Need I remind you that Martin Luther King Jr. died one of the most hated men in America until we agreed, oh yeah, it was probably good that black people got civil rights. So yeah, it's similar with the Black Lives Matter movement now. People deride them for being too violent, despite the actual data showing that they're not very violent at all, even compared to like other historical protests. Yeah. As for Antifa, like, yeah, they're against fascists. I don't think that's bad.
With Brennan, with all these people,
BLM is a neo-Marxist movement, has nothing to do with black people. Well, as someone who's a socialist, I can tell you that BLM is not a neo-Marxist movement. BLM is a movement for racial justice because black people tend to have more interactions with the cops, and they tend to have be disproportionately treated by cops in ways that are negative. So, yeah. It's a movement to basically say, hey, maybe it'd be good if police didn't kill us so often. That'd be great. And hey, I tend to agree with that sentiment, yeah.
lied to Congress. They lied. They leaked. They spied in our campaign. I see Carter Page is bringing a lawsuit. That's good news. Where are they with all of this stuff? And, you know, what happened to Durham? Where's Durham? So, you know, you're asking me a question. These people have been there a long time. And I know FBI, and FBI is great.
Oh, Adriana Toohart, I would ask you to, explain your terms. What do you think neo-Marxist means? You should be very capable of telling us what it means. I would encourage you to do so.
At the levels that we talk about, but it's inconceivable. You would think if you're in the FBI or Department of Justice, this is the biggest thing you could be looking at. Where are they? I've not seen anything. I mean, they just keep moving along, and they go on to the next president. They've been there for a long time. People don't understand this. They've been there for a long time. Some of them have served a lot of different presidents, and they have their own views.
Can you tell me what you think socialism is, Adriana Toohart? Because I'm guessing your definition is not the same as mine.
All I can say is I haven't heard, with all of the fraud that's taken place, nobody's come to me and said, oh, the FBI's nabbed, the people that are doing this scheme. The FBI is looking at Dominion, which nobody even knows where they're based, which nobody even knows where the votes are counted. You know, the votes in Dominion, they say, are counted in foreign countries, okay? Can you believe this? Now, Dominion is also based in a number of foreign countries. One of them is Canada.
Oh, wait, what is communism then? What makes socialism weaker than communism?
And Canada refuses to use Dominion, and they're based there. They won't get anywhere near. Texas will not get anywhere near Dominion. I spoke with the Attorney General. I spoke with a lot of different people. Texas, you should see the reports at
Army medic. That's very good. It's very close. Yeah.
Texas wrote on Dominion. They wouldn't use them. They wouldn't, under any circumstance, they wouldn't use them. So, you know, they, as you probably have heard, but Canada does paper votes. And the only way this is going to be safe is paper votes. Even the mailmen, look, the mailmen are carrying thousands of ballots back and forth, back and forth. There are many mailmen that are in big trouble right now for selling ballots, getting rid of ballots.
He's referencing one incident in which someone took a bag of votes because they thought they were helping Donald Trump.
This is the craziest thing you've ever seen. But many ballots with the name Trump on were thrown out.
Oh, an Army medic. I have no illusions that socialism would be utopian. I just think it would be better than what we have now. And that's good enough for me.
You've read that. They found ballots in a...
Well, Adriana Two Heart, frankly, I don't give a shit about what you personally see, because I give more of a shit about the data. Like, if I see something, that's good, that's great, but I care more about the actual data. And the actual data shows that 97% of the protests, one of the largest sustained protests in American history, most of them were peaceful. Yeah. But guess what? I have data. Do you have data? Because I have data from Harvard. Where's your data from? Your eyes? Your common sense? I feel like that kind of indicates you might have some biases in there, you know? Just like actual data on COVID deaths, huh? Well, again, if you have evidence of crimes, Adriana, please take it to the police. I said it before, I will say it again. If you have evidence of crimes, take it to the police. I am sure if you have evidence of COVID cases being mislabeled, that would be of great interest to the police because it would be breaking laws. It's not hypocrisy. I have a study I can pull up immediately on Harvard. How about that? Whoa. Look at that. Look at this. Whoa. Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University. Whoa. Black Lives Matter protests were overwhelmingly peaceful, our research finds. Whoa. They analyzed 7,305 incidents. Whoa. Of those 7,305 incidents, look at this. Whoa, 97.7% of events reported no injuries among participants, bystanders, or police. Did you create... Yeah, I'm actually a Harvard researcher. You know, it's kind of the thing I do. It's super cool. Yeah. Anyway, here's the link. You all can check it out yourselves. Boom. I have the bad brain. Anyway, yeah. There you go. Archangel DeKalb, I feel like you were incredibly fair in that exchange. Yeah, you even let them back. You let them back in. Yeah.
A river with the name Trump on from the military. They were signed, and they were floating in a river. They found ballots under rocks that had the name Trump on. They were signed. They were signed with Trump. We won the election easily. There's no way Joe Biden got 80 million votes. I just said there's no way Joe Biden beat Barack Obama in the black communities of various cities, and then he did very badly compared to Obama in other cities.
Vicious Varga, I think Archangel DeKalb was targeting someone else. You got caught in the crossfire, friend.
Throughout the United States. There's no way it happened. This election was a fraud. It was a rigged election.
This is disgusting, and we cannot allow America's election to be corrupted. We cannot. So you believe you can prove that the computers can circumvent any controls that are in place. And before we leave the subject of Durham, I feel like something happened in September. I don't know what happened, but we were all expecting Durham to come out and AG Barr to be aggressive. He told me back in June that mail-in ballots opened the floodgates of fraud. Why wasn't anything done about it? Why weren't there surveillance cameras to shoot what we know now?
Does she ever talk, like, at a normal volume, or does she yell all the time? Does she have that thing where she can't, like, modulate her voice?
Now to be trucks backing up ballots, for example, in Michigan.
Well, Army Medic, most, like, Donald Trump literally formed an anti-fraud squad in 2018, and they couldn't find any evidence of fraud. I don't think we actually need anything to essentially... I don't think we need anything else. Our system is pretty good the way it is. The issue is that the Republicans really, really, really like to complain about how much fraud there is. And there's just no data to support there actually being significant fraud. I think the rate of fraud has been somewhere around 0.03%. Like, and that might even be high. So, like, it's not a problem that we've ever had to really deal with. And I think that from how these lawsuits have been proceeding, there's very little evidence to indicate that there's massive widespread voter fraud in this case, too.
And finally, this question, will you appoint a special counsel to investigate and to continue the investigating into what took place in the 2016 election? You mentioned Jim Comey and Andrew McCabe not facing accountability. Will you appoint a special counsel?
By the way, Comey and McCabe, that's the least of it. You talk about the Logan Act. They used the Logan Act on General Flynn, who I was very proud to pardon, but they wanted to use, and they did use the Logan Act on General...
I mean, part of the problem, Train Mod, is that the states have been authorized to run their elections as they see fit. So that means states have control over things like ranked voting. It means they have control over paper ballots. It means that we literally cannot standardize the process across the country. Also, there is something to be said about every state having a different system that makes it harder to compromise our elections. But I think that it's really, like, not a problem. Like, fraud is not a problem. I don't think we have to worry about that. I would be far more worried about foreign state interference. That's something I'd be more worried about.
General Flynn, and you know where that started. Look, this whole thing is a terrible situation. This should have never been allowed to happen, and you know, it's an embarrassment to our country all over the...
Oh yeah, that Katya, yeah, they're almost certainly going to use this as like a pretense to pass laws that make it harder to vote. But I think we just need to recognize that, like, those methods of making it harder to vote literally are just a way to make sure that minorities don't participate as much in elections. Hello, I can't feel a thing.
The world, they're talking about it.
Well, but Army Medic, we have processes in place right now that prevent wide-scale voter fraud. This is why we catch the people who commit voter fraud, and why it's not a massive, massive problem. We already have these measures in place.
And yeah, I would consider her a special prosecutor because, you know, this is not a counsel. It sounds so nice. I went through 3 years of a special counsel prosecutor. I call prosecutor because it's a much more accurate term. They spent $48 million, Weissman and all Trump haters. They spent $48 million. That was the Mueller investigation. They went through taxes. They went through everything. For $48 million, you look at everything, and they found no collusion, no nothing. They found nothing. After friends of mine said, you must be the cleanest guy in the world, because nobody could have gone through an examination like that. And then they announced we have no collusion. There was none. And Marco Rubio said, President Trump, with the Senate Judiciary hearings, absolutely was totally uninvolved. It had nothing to do with Russia. Okay, it was a Russia.
Well, but that's the issue. People like Donald Trump are being disingenuous when they're talking about how big of a problem voter fraud is, and they're being disingenuous largely to achieve political goals. So it's not like an equal issue. They're doing it to achieve an end, and it's to delegitimize our process so that they can then pass voter restrictions that benefit them in elections. This is why the Republican Party for years has talked about how big of a problem election fraud is, despite the statistics remaining relatively constant at around 0.03% voter fraud rate. And I think I'm overestimating it. There might be another zero there. Juzonu Kochan 23. Thank you very much for hitting that follow button. I appreciate it immensely.
Russia hoax. It was just pure hoax. It was a pure hoax and a very sad thing for the country. And as much as I've done, and I think I've done more than virtually in 4 years, more than any president in history, with Space Force and tax cuts, biggest regulation cuts in history, biggest tax cuts in history, the vets, the VA. As much as I've done, I could have done more, except that I was under investigation for almost from the day I came down the escalator with what turned out to be our future First Lady, who's very popular, by the way. But when I came down the escalator from very shortly thereafter, and you know this almost better than anybody else, I was under investigation. Now, at the time, I didn't know it, but I was. All they do is investigate. Then they send everything they have into New York. When I beat them in the federal, They send everything into New York. Oh, let them take a crack at it. What's going on in this country is not to be believed. I could say some very strong words where this country's gone over the last 10 or 15 years, but it's not to be believed.
Oh, Army Medic, on that we can both agree. Congress, the situation in Congress, I think, is at the least popular it's ever been. Like, Congress doesn't do anything anymore.
And we were changing it. If I got in or get in, we will very quickly have deals with Iran. But now they're going to give the ship away. They'll pay hundreds of billions of dollars to Iran.
I agree, Army Medic. That's why we need more socialists running in the races. Socialists can actually advocate for changes in policy that would better people's lives. I agree. The problem is most of the people running in the election for lower seats in the House or Senate, they were running on milquetoast weak neoliberal platforms. And we need strong platforms from socialists who are actually going to offer people something. So yeah, I agree with you completely here.
China didn't want me in because we were beating China so badly. And now they're going to go. China actually stated, you probably heard it 2 days ago, we want to deal with the United States, but we don't like America first. And now the Democrats are saying, oh, we won't use America first. America first is exactly what it is. America first. We have to take care of ourselves first, and then we can help others. But we have to take care of ourselves first, or we won't have a country. But that's where we are, Maria. It's a very sad thing. Why isn't the FBI all over the place? They're not. They're not. It's an incredible thing. They're not. And
Mr.
it's an
President,
embarrassment to our country.
Confirm that your cases will reach the Supreme Court in the next 2 weeks. Confirm that for us. And also, what do you want to say to people like business people, like, for example, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan, who said, it's time to move on and unify and accept the results. Or Stephen Schwarzman, who's a supporter of you, who said, soon we will have to move on. And what about the ramifications of the Supreme Court agreeing with you? Are you worried that we could
Exactly,
see
Army Medic.
riots? And, you know, when you have people who don't agree with you, they think it's just fine to throw bricks through your window and force small businesses to board up. Are you worried about unrest and rioting should the Supreme Court agree with you?
So the people that we have and the people that are so committed to this like I've never seen, I think almost they have more spirit now than they do even before the election. All of the people,
Heck yeah, Army Medic.
these
That
are not
sounds
rioting
awesome.
types, but they are stronger, they are smarter, they are more successful. Antifa is bad news. Nobody wants to do anything with Antifa except me. If I wasn't here, Antifa would be running this country right now. They'd be running the country.
Antifa stands for anti-fascist. Antifa only show up when there are fascists. They typically don't show up with guns. Exactly, Army Medic. That's why I started my channel, so I can talk with people and convince them that I'm right and have good ideas, and that I'm smart and pretty and cool.
They always like to blame the radical right. It's not the radical right. It's the radical left, and it's largely Antifa and groups like this, and nobody wants to.
Damn, guys, I wish we were as cool as Donald Trump thinks we are. I wish we were as cool as Donald Trump thinks we are. Can you imagine?
Even talk about them. Nobody wants to talk about what they're doing in Portland and what they're doing in Chicago and what they're doing in New York. And they club people over the heads when nobody's looking, and then nobody talks about it. It's a disgrace. It's absolutely a disgrace. And if I'm not here, I'm sort of your wall. You know, we're completing the wall like I said I would. Everyone said you'd never be able to do it. That's another one I got built, and it's had a huge impact. We have the best numbers we've ever had on the southern border. People come in, but they come in legally. But the wall is almost complete. And to be honest, we look and we see all of the different problems. MS-13, we take care of it. We bring thousands of MS-13 back to where they came from. We don't want them here. We bring them back. But Antifa is a real problem in this country, and nobody wants to take them on. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful.
Which cases specifically will reach the Supreme Court and when?
She's desperately trying to keep him on track. She's trying so hard.
Well, the problem is it's hard to get into the Supreme Court. I've got the best Supreme Court advocates, lawyers, that want to argue the case if it gets there. But they said it's very hard to get a case up there. Can you imagine Donald Trump, President of the
Quasi-shuffle
United
kitty.
States, files a case,
She's calling me
and
out.
I probably can't get a case, even with, and we have tremendous proof. We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, sworn affidavits, and
Ooh, sublingual.
it's very hard to get a
Fancy.
case to the Supreme Court. That's what everybody's fighting for. I thought that Mike Kelly, congressman, I thought they had a great case, and it got thrown out the other day. Now they'll appeal it, I hope, to the Supreme Court. They have a great case because the legislature didn't make the decision on this stuff, and they have a great case. But you have to appeal it. The big thing is, can you get it? We could have a great case. We do have a great case. We have the greatest case ever. We have many different forms of fraud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not just one form. It's ballot fraud. We have it all documented, and we have tremendous
it's
evidence.
ballot fraud,
So we'll say
it's
we want to show you the evidence, and then the judge
everything
will
else.
say they didn't show us the evidence. That's what we want to do. We want to have hearings to show the evidence. The time people started seeing evidence was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, when people started showing it. You probably saw that. Great people came forward with affidavits, signed affidavits. We have hundreds.
It's incredible. He's been talking for almost 40 minutes, and he hasn't said anything indicating any one piece of evidence. I'd be fine with just one. That'd be interesting.
Hundreds of people like that. Hundreds and hundreds. They make it like we don't have evidence. We have evidence all over the place. And by the way, you asked about the machines, Dominion. Yeah, I hope so, for the good of the country. It will take a brave judge or a brave legislature. You know, where Rudy Giuliani, you know, he takes a lot of heat. Let me tell you, that guy he has guts, because we've had lawyers that were afraid to go forward because they were threatened, viciously threatened. We have lawyers, Maria, good lawyers, that had to leave the case in the middle because they were threatened, absolutely threatened, both psychologically and otherwise. And they left the case. Numerous firms, good firms, doing a good job, and all of a sudden we end up having to scramble to get a case ready. What's going on is nobody's ever seen anything like this. It will take a brave judge or justice, or both, Supreme Court justice.
Well, it sounds like if you can't be heard by the Supreme Court, you lose. Do you believe you will win this?
We should be heard by the Supreme Court. Something has to be able to get up there. Otherwise, what is the Supreme Court? If election fraud at the highest level anyone's ever seen, with tremendous evidence, in a presidential election, if a man gets 80 million votes, and he's not even close to that number, Maria, look, again, I don't want to bore you with this. He did not beat President Obama in areas where they said he beat President Obama. In fact, the black community had very little enthusiasm for Joe Biden. You know that. You've been reporting on that.
Thank you very much for hitting that follow button.
For Joe Biden. The Hispanic community has very little enthusiasm for Joe Biden. He didn't get those numbers. And by the way, I was the most successful with the Hispanic and the.
Guys, do we have to watch the rest of this? It's just going to be the same things. I feel like we've been stuck in like an eternity engine. We've just been like hearing this over and over and over again. And like, we can stop. Can we stop, chat? Is that fine? Am I obligated to keep watching because we started it? Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop.